Commander Ethan Ward, a human diplomat traveling alone inside the massive starship known across the galaxy as the Crimson Throne, the personal flagship of the feared Azarian alien queen, Saraxa. Ethan believed he was brought for peace talks, but everything changes when the ship doors slam shut behind him. A deep, cold voice echoes in the throne hall. "Human, choose. Either you are mine, or your planet becomes mine." Saraxa stands before him, tall, armored in living metal, her eyes like burning neon amber. She rules a warrior empire known for conquering solar systems without mercy. Ethan is escorted through the alien palace inside the ship. He notices symbols, living technology, and walls that pulse like veins. The guards treat him with strange respect, not like a prisoner, but like a special guest, or prey. He learns that Queen Saraxa has been watching Earth for years. She knows Ethan's military record. She knows his past failures. She knows he is a man who never bends. This makes him dangerous and valuable. Welcome to my channel Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Commander Ethan Ward opened his eyes to the sound of heavy footsteps echoing down a long hallway. He had been invited on a peace mission, or at least that was what the Earth Alliance had told him. But now, as he stood inside the massive alien battleship known as the Crimson Throne, he understood that this was no diplomatic meeting. He was alone, surrounded by hostile guards, and being led into the heart of an enemy empire. The hallway walls pulsed with red light, alive, breathing, moving like veins in a giant creature. The ship felt less like technology and more like something grown, not built. The guards stopped in front of two enormous doors carved with glowing symbols. Without touching them, the doors opened by themselves, and Ethan stepped into a throne chamber larger than any building he'd ever seen. At the end of it stood Queen Saraxa, ruler of the Azarian Empire. She was tall, powerful, wrapped in armor that looked like molten black stone shifting across her body. Her eyes glowed like burning gold. Her voice, when she spoke, made the air vibrate. "Human, walk closer." Ethan forced his legs to move forward. His instincts screamed danger. His training whispered caution, but he kept a calm face. That was his strength. When he reached 10 feet from her, she raised one clawed hand. The air tightened, trapping him in place. And then she spoke the words that froze Ethan's blood. "Either you are mine, or the planet is mine." The room fell silent. No movement, no sound, only her voice echoing in his mind. Ethan didn't blink. "That's not why I came here." Saraxa tilted her head, studying him. "Like a rare creature. You were brought here because you do not break. Because you do not bend. Because you stand even when crushed." She stepped closer, shadows swirling around her feet. "Such a man is valuable to me." Ethan took a slow breath. "If this is a threat, I don't respond to those." Her lips curved, not quite a smile. "This is not a threat, human. This is a choice. You will stand with me, or your world will kneel to me." Ethan stared back. "Earth will never kneel." She leaned closer, her glowing eyes inches from his. "Then perhaps you will." But Ethan did not move. He did not look away. And something in the Queen's expression flickered, surprise. No alien had ever held her gaze before. The Queen's real reason. Saraxa turned her back and walked slowly toward her throne. "Follow." The command released the invisible force around him. Ethan walked after her, the guards staying far behind. Saraxa sat on her throne of living metal. It curled around her like it was alive. "You think I want a mate?" she asked without looking at him. "No, I want a symbol." Ethan frowned. "Explain." Her eyes narrowed. "My empire bleeds. Rebels whisper that I am weak. Enemies circle like carrion beasts. If I take a human, a warrior of the blue world, as my consort, the prophecy of my ancestors becomes truth. Power returns to the Crimson Crown." So that was it. Political. Strategic. Not personal. Ethan's voice stayed calm. "And if I refuse?" Her armor shifted sharply, like spikes rising. "Then your planet becomes my first conquest." She said it so simply, as if she were talking about taking a walk. The prison that isn't a prison. Ethan was escorted to a room, for rest. At first glance, it looked luxurious, soft light, warm air, a bed made of glowing fibers, a table holding crystal-like cubes. But it was a cage. A cage with no locks, because the entire ship was its own lock. The walls hummed with energy. The door had no handle. The only window showed a vast view of cold stars. Ethan paced the room, thinking, Why him? Why Earth? Why now? On the table, one of the crystals glowed when he touched it, forming an image of Saraxa's palace and the Empire's borders. Flicking through it, he found news of recent rebellions, angry warrior clans rising against her rule. The queen wasn't offering him power. She was begging for stability. But begging in her own terrifying way. Ethan sat on the bed and whispered to himself, "This isn't about me at all. It's about her fear." Summoned again. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time felt strange on the living ship. A tall armored guard entered. "The queen requests your presence." Now. Ethan followed through different halls, twisting, massive, glowing with pulsing red veins. This time, the guards whispered about him. "Is that the human? He will not survive her. Why did she choose him?" It made Ethan walk straighter. When he entered the throne hall again, Saraxa stood waiting. "You studied the crystals," she said. He didn't deny it. "Your empire is falling apart." Her eyes flared with warning. "You speak boldly. You brought me here for a reason," Ethan replied. "You wanted someone who doesn't bend. So I won't start bending now." Saraxa slowly walked toward him, stopping inches away. "You think you understand me, human? I think you're afraid," Ethan said quietly. "Afraid of losing your throne. Afraid of war. Afraid of being alone in an empire that wants you dead." The guards gasped. Her armor flared like fire. Then, shockingly, she laughed. A deep, dangerous laugh. "No one has ever spoken to me like that." "I'm not your subject," Ethan answered. Her laughter faded. The air pulsed between them. "You will either strengthen my crown," she whispered, "or be the reason I crush your world." Saraxa tests his limits. She gestured, and a massive hologram appeared, Earth in perfect detail. Cities, oceans, the orbital defense systems, all targeted. "Your world is fragile," she said. "Beautiful, but weak." Ethan stepped forward. Fear tried to claw at him, but he didn't show it. "You don't want a planet," he said. "You want someone who can stand beside you. Someone who isn't afraid of you." Saraxa's eyes softened a fraction. "You speak like you know my mind." "No," Ethan said. "I speak like someone who refuses to kneel." The queen inhaled sharply. Her aura flared again. But for the first time, her voice trembled, not with anger but something else. "You are interesting, human." A walk through the ship. Saraxa suddenly turned and said, "Walk with me." Ethan followed her through a series of massive halls, each filled with alien technology far beyond human understanding. Warriors bowed to her. Workers froze in fear as she passed. But they all stared at Ethan. Whispers spread like fire. "The queen keeps the human close. He must be important. Will she really choose him?" The pressure around Ethan built with every step. Saraxa finally stopped in a high observation room filled with star charts made of living light. "Do you understand what your choice means?" she asked, her voice softer now. "You want me to join you," Ethan said. "But your enemies will kill me. And your own people will rebel." Saraxa turned to him, eyes glowing brighter. "And yet, you are still here. Because you kidnapped me," Ethan said plainly. She smirked. "If you truly wished to escape, you would have tried." Ethan didn't answer. Because she was right. A part of him wanted to understand her. A part of him wanted to know why the galaxy feared this woman, and why. She seemed more lonely than powerful. The crack in the crown. Saraxa walked to the window, staring into the endless stars. "My enemies think I am weak," she said. "They whisper that I cannot lead alone. They think choosing a human proves their words." "Does it?" Ethan asked. Her jaw tightened. "I do not know." For the first time, Ethan saw the truth. She wasn't a monster. She wasn't a tyrant. She was a ruler trying not to fall apart. Part 1 cliffhanger. Before Ethan could respond, an explosion shook the entire room. The lights flickered. A deep alarm roared throughout the ship. Saraxa snapped into battle mode instantly. A guard sprinted in, armor cracked and smoking. "My queen. The rebels, they have breached the outer hull. General Varicon leads them. They demand your surrender." Ethan's heart pounded. This was an ambush. Saraxa turned to him, her eyes fierce and blazing with fire. "Human," she growled, "your time is over. Choose now." The ship shook again, harder. "Stand with me," she said, voice sharp as a blade, "or watch your world burn when I fall." Ethan stared back, breath heavy. He had seconds to decide. Protect his planet by joining her. Or risk everything. The throne hall shook violently. Saraxa extended her hand toward him. "Choose," Ethan warned. The screen goes black. The entire throne hall trembled as explosions shook the Crimson Throne's outer walls. The glowing symbols on the floor flickered like dying stars. Ethan didn't move. Not yet. He stared at Queen Siraxa, her armor cracking with red lightning as she prepared for war. Her hand was still stretched toward him. "Choose," Ethan warned. For a brief moment, the throne hall felt frozen in time. Outside, chaos. Inside, silence. Ethan's heart pounded hard enough to hurt. The rebels had come to kill the queen. If she died, her empire would crumble. And if her empire crumbled, Earth would surely fall next. Even if Ethan escaped this ship alive, the galaxy would not leave Earth untouched. One wrong choice could doom billions. He took a slow breath. "I'll stand with you," he said. Siraxa's eyes widened, not with triumph or satisfaction, but with something closer to shock. But she didn't have time to respond. A deafening blast cracked the ceiling open. Sparks rained down like deadly fire. Siraxa pulled Ethan close. "Stay behind me." But Ethan shook his head. "I fight on my own. I'm not your shield." The queen stared at him, her expression unreadable. "Then," she nodded, "then fight beside me." Rebel invasion. A massive steel door at the far end of the hall exploded inward. Rebel warriors stormed in, tall, muscular aliens wearing jagged armor marked with blue symbols. Their eyes glowed with rage and hunger for power. Their leader stepped forward, General Vericon, a GI. Ant twice the size of any human. His armor was covered in spikes, and he carried a blade hotter than molten lava. "Siraxa," he roared. His voice shook the hall. "Your reign ends today." Siraxa stepped forward, raising her hand. Energy crackled across her armor. But Vericon wasn't looking at her. He was staring at Ethan. "So the rumors were true," Vericon growled. "You really chose a human." Ethan tightened his grip on the alien weapon he'd taken from a guard. "I wasn't chosen," he said. "I chose for myself." Vericon burst into cruel laughter. "Then you will die first." He charged. The first battle, Vericon's blade came down like a falling star. Ethan dodged at the last second, rolling across the floor as the impact cracked the stone where he just stood. Siraxa lunged to intercept Vericon, but another group of rebels surrounded her, forcing her back. The hall became war. Ethan fired the alien weapon. It shot beams of compressed energy that blasted rebels back. He wasn't used to its power, but his training took over. He aimed, fired, moved, dodged. He fought like a soldier who'd seen too many battles. Siraxa, meanwhile, moved like a storm. Her armor flared, her claws slashed, and her voice boomed with authority. "Do not let them near the core," she commanded. But the rebels swarmed. For every one that fell, two more rushed in. Another explosion rocked the ship. Vericon swung again at Ethan, faster than such a giant should move. Ethan barely blocked, the impact jolting pain through his entire arm. "You should have stayed on your weak blue world," Vericon mocked. Ethan glared. "I'm starting to think you're afraid of humans." Vericon roared and charged again. A desperate fight. The throne hall wasn't safe anymore. Cracks formed in the walls and sparks shot from broken panels. Siraxa fought her way toward Ethan, tearing through rebels like fire through dry grass. "Human," she shouted, "fall back." But Ethan refused. Vericon swung downward. Ethan slid under the blade and fired upward. The blast struck Vericon in the chest, staggering the giant. Siraxa used the opening. She leapt forward, claws blazing, and struck Vericon with a shockwave of crimson energy. The general crashed into a pillar, cracking it in two. But he rose again, fury burning brighter. "You have grown weak, Siraxa," he snarled. "Even with your little human pet." Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but Siraxa beat him to it. "He is not mine," she growled, voice thunderous. "He stands because he chooses to." "Something you never understood." Ethan blinked. There was something different in her voice. Something he had not heard before. Respect. Retreat to the ship core. More rebel ships latched onto the Crimson Throne's outer hull. The battle grew worse by the second. Siraxa grabbed Ethan's arm. "We go to the core chamber. Now." He nodded. Together, they ran through twisting hallways, fighting off rebels at every turn. The ship shook around them as enemy claws tore deeper into its systems. Ethan saw fear on alien faces. He saw desperation in the Queen's soldiers. Everything was falling apart. Rebels jumped from shadows, from ceilings, from vents. Ethan and Siraxa fought back to back, her claws flashing, his weapon firing non-stop. Finally, they reached a door pulsing with bright red light. Siraxa slammed her hand onto the panel. The door opened, revealing the heart chamber, where the ship's living core floated, a massive glowing crystal connected to Siraxa's life force. "If the rebels take this," she said, "my empire dies." Ethan understood. And Earth becomes their next target. Siraxa nodded once. Yes. The final confrontation. A loud crash echoed behind them. Varicon was back. His armor glowed with stolen power, his eyes burning with hatred. "You flee like cowards," Varicon roared. "Time to end this." He charged. Siraxa met him head-on. Their clash filled the chamber with shockwaves of raw energy. Sparks flew. The floor cracked. Ethan was thrown toward the wall but forced himself up. He fired at rebels trying to enter, protecting the queen's back. Siraxa and Varicon fought like ancient gods, claws, blades, energy bursts. But Varicon was stronger. One brutal strike sent Siraxa crashing onto the floor. Her armor fractured. Blood, glowing in silver, dripped down her arm. "Siraxa!" Ethan shouted. Varicon lifted his blade to finish her. Ethan didn't think. He ran. He tackled Varicon from the side, slamming the giant off balance. Varicon roared in rage and threw Ethan across the room. But Ethan had bought a few precious seconds. Siraxa struggled to rise. "You saved me," she whispered, shocked. Ethan wiped blood from his mouth. "Don't die. I made my choice." Siraxa's eyes widened, but then hardened again. The human stand Varicon stomped toward Ethan. "You are nothing." Ethan grabbed a broken piece of alien machinery and swung it like a weapon. Varicon laughed as it struck his armor. The blow barely scratched him. "You cannot kill me, human," he mocked. "You cannot even slow me." Ethan spat blood. "Maybe not, but I can distract you." Varicon turned, too late. Siraxa, gathering every last drop of her power, surged forward. Her armor glowed white-hot, and her eyes burned like two suns. She stabbed her claws into Varicon's chest. A deafening blast shook the chamber as her energy exploded outward. Varicon screamed. The impact sent shockwaves through the ship, knocking everyone down. When the light faded, Varicon fell to his knees, then collapsed completely. Dead. The queen fall. Siraxa staggered. Her armor flickered, then dimmed. She dropped to one knee. Ethan rushed to her side. "Stay with me." She exhaled a shaky breath. "The core reacts to my injury. It drains my strength. If I die, the ship dies with me." "Then don't die," Ethan said sharply. Siraxa gave a weak, bitter smile. "I am not so easily commanded, human." He pulled her upright, supporting her weight. "Lean on me," he said. She hesitated, then allowed it. Together, they sealed the core chamber. The rebels began to fall back as news spread that Varicon was dead. Without their leader, their courage broke. The battle ended. The Crimson Throne survived. After the battle, medical drones worked on Siraxa's wounds as Ethan remained at her side. The throne hall was damaged. The halls were filled with broken armor and scorch marks. The Empire was shaken, but alive. When Siraxa regained her strength, she stood before Ethan again. Her voice was calm, steady, different. "Human," Ethan warred. "You saved my life when you could have saved only yourself." Ethan shrugged lightly. "It was the right thing to do." Siraxa stepped closer. "You fought beside me. You faced Varicon without fear. You protected the core. You protected me." Ethan met her eyes. "Earth is safe now. Because of you," she said. A pause. A long one. Then Siraxa spoke words heavier than any command. "Human, the choice is still yours. Be mine, and stand at my side as the symbol my empire needs. Or return to your world, free." Ethan looked at her, really looked. The fire in her eyes. The strength in her stance. The vulnerability she tried to hide. The power she carried alone. He thought of Earth. He thought of the prophecy. He thought of how they fought together, side by side, like equals. Finally, he answered. "I won't be owned," Ethan said softly. "Not by anyone." Siraxa's eyes dimmed slightly. "But," Ethan continued, taking one more step toward her, "I won't walk away from you either." The queen inhaled sharply. Her voice was almost a whisper. "Then you choose me?" "I choose to stand with you," Ethan said. "Not as a symbol, not as a throne piece, but as someone who believes we can build something better together." Siraxa closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, she was smiling. A true smile. Something no one had seen from her in years. "Then, Ethan Ward," she said softly, "stand with me, not as mine, but as my equal." Ethan nodded. And for the first time, the galaxy trembled not from fear, but from the beginning of a new future. End.